right, Lagos, let's talk. I'm Sandra Ezekwesili. On the glass ceiling every Wednesday, we bring you all of the different barriers that hold women back. And we talk about all of the ways that we're going about smashing the ceiling. Because what's the point in raising the issues if you are not going to smash the ceilings when you are done? Am I right? Am I right? Okay. So every Wednesday at 4, we have conversations about how the ceiling can be smashed after we have found that the glass is right there. And we just concluded 16 days of activism against gender-based violence. Yesterday was the final day, and we marked Human Rights Day as a way to end it. Now, as we told you, it was a campaign to challenge all the different types of violence against women and girls. And the campaign also tries to raise everybody's awareness so that all of us can see the role that we can play in ending gender-based violence, especially when it comes to creating a permissive environment for it. And so last week, on the glass ceiling, we looked at one specific area where we currently have violence against women being normalized, if not even condoned and encouraged. And that's in the entertainment sector. Last week, we looked at rape culture in comedy. But today, we're going to widen that scope. We're going to talk about rape culture in entertainment, particularly rape culture in film and in music. We're going to take a look at the ways in which the images and the ideas that are communicated to us through entertainment may normalize or perpetuate or justify rape culture. And then we're going to give extra attention to film and music. There are some things that you watch or you see, and it just blows your mind sometimes. These are some of the most influential forms of entertainment because people become very big fans of music and movies. And songs and films become powerful conversation pieces, right? People adopt lifestyles and rituals and slangs from movies and songs. So we'll look at how the messages in film and music are received and whether they contribute to the current situation in our society where rape is in many ways normalized. But again, we must look at the situation in the context of free speech, of freedom of expression, of artistic license. It's a hot button issue right now, considering the debates that we've been having over the hate speech law. Now, we have all the experts in the room to discuss this with me, a very opinionated panel. I have on the show a comedian, Romeo Without Juliet. You've seen his videos on Instagram. You've probably been to a show where he's either hosted or performed at. Romeo, hi. Thanks for joining us on the glass ceiling.
Yeah, I'm good. What's happening?
Yeah, we're good. We also have on the show with us a human rights advocate, Pamela Dear. Thank you so much for coming back this week. Okay. And then we have on the show with us as well a broadcast journalist who I love. She has a show here on Nigeria Info. She's a broadcaster. She's the founder, No More 234 NG. She's a documentary filmmaker, and she's also co-executive producer of the upcoming stage production, Mamma Mia, the musical. Ireti Bakara Yusuf, thank you so much for joining us.
Hello, Sandra.
All right. Okay, so let's get right into it. Last week, you were not here, Romeo, and some of the huge questions that I was asking is if people who say that comedy can change behavior are correct. Do you think that for those who say comedy has influence over social issues, they are wrong or they are right? I'm curious what you have to say, Romeo.
No, I think comedy has an influence, a great influence over social issues.
Okay.
Because most of the things happening now, we try to build out the comic part of it. But though most of the people in Nigeria now look at them in through this. Okay, there are situations where we could probably shoot up something about the society, about the government, and then somebody comes for you. So, but yes, comedy has an influence over things happening in society.
Okay. Now, how much influence does comedy have? And can you give us examples of how that influence works or has worked? Romeo.
I think I'll say comedy has an influence of 70%, I guess. 70%, because, for example, there are situations where, okay, lately they were talking about one of our veteran comedians, Basket Mouse, right?
Mm.
He cracked a joke a long
Hello, Romeo. Hello.
for it. And say,
Hello, Romeo.
right? So
Hello.
without, he had no intention to promote
Romeo.
more. Yes,
Yeah, so
he was talking about. So
we
he
stopped
knows
hearing a
that
lot of the
comedy has
things
a
is.
great influence.
Hello, Romeo.
So everybody has to watch.
Okay, all right. So we're going to have to call Romeo back. He was basically talking to himself there. Now, as usual, throughout the show, you are our most important guest. I'm talking about you who's listening in your car or at home, right? So we want you to call in to send us messages on WhatsApp, Twitter, Facebook, and tell us what you think. Have you seen images or scenes in movies or heard lyrics or some songs that make light of rape or support rape? How did you react when you heard it? What did you think? Did you give it any thought at the time? Did you think that it mattered? Do you think that it matters? Do you think music and movies affect the way that people see life? Do you think art and entertainment can change behavior? Or do you think people should not take it too seriously? Ireti, some people are listening right now, and just like last week, they're saying, now, wow, ordinary song, ordinary film. You don't mean anything now. It's not that serious now. What do you have to say to convince that person, Ireti?
Okay, so the first thing I think we need to understand is people are influenced by what they like and the things around them. Yep, that goes without saying. Now, how that message is imbibed, of course, is under and should be under guidance. However, where there's no guidance, people do reenact and people do. So when it's a case of glorifying abuse and violence, of course it matters. And I'm not, I'm possibly one of the most liberal people you will find. But I do believe that we have to be careful with the messages we send out, especially in this day and age. Incidentally, I was actually having this discussion this morning with a group of older people who are in culture, and these are not culture enthusiasts. These are culture practitioners who have been in the industry. Some of them are music executives for a long time, and we were talking about the messaging for music, and we talked about the drugs in music, etc., etc. And of course, we were all young ones, so I'm not going to get away from that. But at the same time, is that the young have to be allowed to be young, but also when we send out messaging, we have to own up to the responsibility. So sometimes it's not just now only song. I gave you an example last week where I talked about how African American rap music back in the day was actually glorifying a lot of violence, a lot of murder, guns, misogyny as well. And they literally realized how that was affecting the community as a whole. And as a result of that, they started to change their narrative. Well, in this day of social media, I dare any rap artist to come out with any misogynistic word or sentence debasing women. They would come down on him like a ton of bricks. Okay? So that's why it matters, because we all now know that our society needs to be better. And it takes all of us, a collective effort, to make it better.
Pamela, I wonder if you agree with Ireti that the things we watch, the things we listen to have some sort of effect, or do you think we're being too serious and we need to lighten up?
Well, I absolutely agree with you, Retty, because, okay, so here's the thing, right? So, rape jokes are not just standalone, they are part of the rape culture, right? And if you think about it this way, rape jokes are like the base, the foundation of the rape culture pyramid, right? So, everything that happens in terms of influence starts from rape jokes.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
So if you take away rape jokes, which attempts to normalize the rape culture, everything else almost doesn't have root, cannot stand. But when we start joking about things like rape, we are essentially saying it's funny that people, that men, overpower women without consent to have sex, obviously. Or let me not even say to have sex, to sexually assault women. So absolutely, I agree with Ireti, and I think that if we are really serious about stopping or ending the rape culture in Nigeria, we really, really need to tackle this epidemic, on rape jokes, because I know that Basket Mouth is not the first person to crack a rape joke. Precious, some years ago, I think it was 2 years ago, with Dorothy, the activist.
Okay.
Dorothy went to Precious's show, and during the show, a comedy show, and during the show, he cracked a joke about rape. Dorothy, being a survivor of sexual assault, stood up and said, "No, this is unacceptable." Eventually, it became this whole big thing, and he eventually sort of apologized, like they all do. But that's just one example of
The effect it has.
yes.
I need to ask you, Romeo, why do we have so many jokes from male Nigerian comedians about rape?
Most of the jokes most people do about rape are subconscious, actually.
Subconscious.
Some of them. They actually, like a joke is not like music where you have to crack the joke and then music, they take their time to build, right? But a joke, most times, it's after cracking the joke, that's when the comedian starts thinking about what he just did. And that's when they start thinking about the depth of that joke and how deep it cuts. But most of them know that this thing is wrong and they just jump on it. But some of them, they do it subconsciously.
I'm trying to understand the subconscious part. Can you walk me through that?
For example, there was this once we did a content of a guy trying to talk to a girl and then he tapped the girl behind. Okay, so on her butt actually.
Okay.
Then somebody started dragging us on Twitter and saying,
Oh, you were in that video that went viral.
yeah.
Oh, I see.
So most people are saying we're promoting sexual harassment and all that, but actually it was subconscious because later on, few other people had to go through the video and then we started analyzing it. So it was actually done subconsciously.
Subconsciously? I don't know.
Sandra, can I come in there?
Ireti, let me hear your thoughts, because I'm trying to walk through the subconscious and I can't.
I guess
Like
what
we were looking at the funny part of the joke. Right?
Okay.
We're looking at the funny part of the skit, but people that actually criticize all these things, like pinpointing the bad part of the skit and saying, "Yo, this part here, you promoted sexual harassment."
I see. Ireti, let me hear your thoughts.
So what Romeo said, I mean, it's almost like he was in the studio with us last week, because this is exactly what I was saying when I said they don't engage brain. And I don't mean that to be insulting. It is a fact. There's a total disconnect. So what happens is when something has been normalized and it's become a culture, okay, so it's thrown up in the air like 3 juggling balls, and wherever it lands, it lands. That's how comedians work. And that's what Romeo is saying. So we just throw these things out there. We haven't thought about it, and we're thinking, oops, oh my word, we've upset somebody. We didn't mean to. And I think that's where the responsibility comes in. I keep going on about that responsibility, where you can't, look, Romeo, I can understand you guys when you kind of do a skit, but skits are written. They're not random. They're written. And when a comedian, okay, gets on stage, all the jokes are already written. They've been practiced. They've been used. Nothing they have said is new or new to them, or because it's rarely do you see them with, say, somebody, oh, she's got green hair, so they make a joke about the green, white, green flag. It's all been rehearsed, but it's delivered because when they're on stage, they become actors or whatever. Now, the thing is, it's that disconnection that's actually very dangerous. It's that disconnection that we need to look at, we need to talk about. And it's the same disconnection that happened with Nollywood for a very long time because it was acceptable. It was acceptable for you to. So in the old days, Nollywood would have titles such as "He raped me, but I married him." Those kind of crazy things that you would have such headlines and such titles like that, and they would be reenacted. Till today, you still have. When I say Nollywood, I'm not just talking about the English Nollywood, because often when you say Nollywood, people just think the English movies. I'm talking about Nollywood across the board, right? Nigeria would. What you still get is films where, a husband and a wife, they have an argument, and the next thing he does is slap her. Or the next thing he does is, starts hitting her, and the family gets involved, and the family are trying to talk them to get back together, or maybe the mother-in-law gets, so whatever. So all of those things are glorifying violence, okay? Often, especially the ones that they show on TV, often you don't get where somebody would actually come along and say, you know what, you've done this, you have no right to do this, where the law comes in and the guy is charged with assault or abuse, or you don't get it. You don't get it, rarely. And therein lies the problem, the total disconnection. Because look, films are not made by computers, right? Films are made by members of this society, and the majority of whom have experienced this abuse or rape or sexual violence one way or the other. So where's that disconnection coming from? Romeo, if you look around you and you ask your girlfriend, I'm sure after you did that video, you thought, wow, what did we do? Did you talk to the women around you?
Yeah, exactly, I did.
And what did they say?
No, they analyzed it actually.
Exactly. So that's why we need to start having conversations.
So where's that disconnect coming from, Pamela? How come women will look at that and say, no, this is sexual harassment, but the men who put out that content did not view that as sexual harassment? Even the woman who was in the video did not say, no, I cannot be a part of this. This is sending the wrong message. Pamela?
Well, I don't know why the woman didn't stand up and say, no, I can't be part of this because A, B, C, D, E, right? But here's the thing about what we're discussing today. So when you have rape jokes that are so common that people laugh at comedy shows, on social media and anywhere else, it's a symptom of the overall problem, which is that rape is very common in our society today. It's something that has happened so often.
It's now in our subconscious.
Yes, that it's exactly in our subconscious, especially in the subconscious
that scares
of
me.
men. And the way that it plays out, the way that it plays out in women is, women are just automatically on the defense. When you want to enter an Uber, you are worried about whether your Uber driver is going to assault you. You're worried about whether he's going to look at you the wrong way, or is going to touch you, or anything like that. And so I think that when these jokes subconsciously or consciously make their way into jokes, when rape makes its way into jokes, it just tells us how problematic, how big this issue is. And it is also an attempt to make what is so common normal.
Romeo, do you believe that filmmakers, content creators have a responsibility to portray particular behaviors in a way that passes a moral message to society?
Yeah, of course we do. Of course we do, because presently, I think content creators and filmmakers right now, entertainers generally, are the ones that try to put smiles on the faces of people, even if no matter how the economy gets bad, we try to make people smile at least for a moment and then forget some issues. So I think they have influences over this kind of issues.
Ireti, what do you think?
Well, I think Romeo is right. Of course, content creators have responsibility, producers, writers. It's a whole, all the stakeholders, sort of the whole ecosystem have a responsibility, but so does society. Look, what Dorothy, the story that Pamela told, Dorothy standing up is what we all need to do.
Absolutely.
Right? As of the time when Dorothy stood up, how many women or men stood up with her?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know? How many of them stood up with her? Not many. Right? I wasn't there. Okay? But I've been somewhere. I've been at events where they start telling these horrible jokes. And I'm literally like screaming on my table. And everybody's hiding their face. And I'm thinking, you cowards. Yes, they're all uncomfortable with it. So why are we sitting here? Why are we not standing up? Why are we not saying, no, you can't do this? Why are we not embarrassing the person? You know, so they learn not to do it again. It's critical. It's critical that we must all, as a society, because guess what? That person making that joke is my brother as much as he's your brother. Okay? And that person making the video, the film producer, etc., Romeo, who I've never met, is as much my brother as he is your brother. So we all have to be each other's keepers. We can't keep disconnecting from this. We just can't. And it's not that it's just happened now. What's changed now is that people are now, women, men are now look, Romeo, let me tell you something. I have counseled men who have been raped. We're still just scratching the surface. And most people are probably laughing in their car thinking, how is it possible? Trust me, it is possible. It's a minority, but it is possible. And we still haven't scratched the surface. That's why, because we're still finding it hard to accept and admit that we have a pandemic rather than epidemic, that's why men are still not speaking out, those who have been victims. So you see, when one hurts, everybody hurts.
Pamela, you
When
have things to
slap
say.
me, you slap all of us.
Yeah, I mean, you know, so I think that one of the issues is this, right? And this is where comedy and entertainment in general is so powerful, or can be so powerful, is films, music, comedy, art, everything entertainment has the power to show us a future that we want, right? And film, most especially, because film doesn't just tell us stories as things are now. Films have the power to tell us stories as things can be. Okay, so when you have situations or scenes or stories in films, in movies that describe a situation where a man rapes a woman, and then he somehow becomes the person who trains her in school, who she ends up marrying, who she has devoted her life to, who she has children for, is problematic, because what that means, that it means that it's okay to sexually assault women and then marry them. That's one. And another thing too,
As long as you marry them, it's okay to do it.
Exactly. And then another thing too is, I think that, you know, I don't think all rape jokes are bad. And I'll explain what that means. When you have rape jokes that focus on the behavior of the abuser, that shames the behavior of the abuser, that makes public see that what the abuser is doing is shameful, is wrong, is abusive, that's okay. The problem we have here in Nigeria and in many parts of the world is that most of these rape jokes focus on the pain of the survivor. That's the issue.
What a way to put it. All right, so here's what's going to happen. Let me take your thoughts on this issue. I want to hear from you. I want to take your calls. I want to get your messages via WhatsApp as well. Bioye on WhatsApp says, as per the comedians and rape jokes, if they were fined every time it happens, they'll think twice before cracking such jokes. Yeah, but who's going to find them? But let me talk to you. Let me hear from you. Have you seen images or scenes in movies or heard lyrics in a song that make light of rape or of rape? How did you react? What did you think? Did you give it any thought at the time when somebody made a rape joke, or when something concerning rape was portrayed in a movie, but portrayed in a way that made you uncomfortable? Did you think about it? Do you think it matters what messages we're sending out with our entertainment as far as rape and sexual assault and sexual harassment is concerned? Do you think movies and music in general affect the way that people see life? Do you think art and entertainment can change behavior? Or do you think people shouldn't be taking it too seriously? Do you think myself and Diverty and Pamela and Romeo should talk about other things instead of what we're currently talking about because it's not that serious? 01277 0993 01277 1993 01277 2993 and 01277 3993. Romeo, I've heard a lot of complaints from a lot of Nigerian women that Nigerian comedians sometimes express negativity towards women. Do you agree?
No, not all of them. Only the ones that are not learned.
Okay, only the ones that are not learned.
Yeah, because in as much as they're comedians, there are most comedians that are actually learned and then are properly schooled, so they know the difference between good and bad. Those are the ones I was talking about before that probably might not be cracking a joke to promote rape, but subconsciously, without their thinking, they're promoting that kind of thing. But there are comedians that are actually learned and properly schooled they know their left from their right. They know the kind of materials to drop and that which they shouldn't.
Do you believe that some subjects should not be a laughing matter, or do you think that everything can be laughed at? I mean, that's what comedy should do, right, Romeo?
Here in our culture, the Nigerian culture, in quotes, right? It's not everything that should be a joke.
Okay.
Okay, but the American comedians, for example, they no longer, I can't, the ones I follow, they no longer crack jokes about rape and all that, sexual harassment and all that. For example, Kevin Hart was dragged at one point over a rape material too.
Okay.
Right, yeah, and then I think a rape material and then this gay material he did one time too. He was dragged over it, so he had to take caution on it. But there are comedians that no longer do those kind of materials. Here in Nigeria, not every kind of material is supported. So you should know what to say and what not to say, and what to shoot and what not to shoot. Because there are situations that we won't find funny in Nigeria. There are things that we won't accept. Not everything should be laughed at.
Ireti, do you think we're overstating the power and influence of entertainment? Are the entertainers influencing what the audience thinks, or is what the audience thinks influencing the art that the entertainers make?
So here's the thing. Art is a language, end of. Art is a voice. It's a form of speaking, it's a form of messaging. So therefore, sometimes, and you get lots of art that's actually reflecting the mood of the society. And that's what art is supposed to do. And when it comes to comedy, for instance, where you have, currently in Nigeria, everybody's something of a nervous wreck. We're all a spectrum of something or the other. Do you understand? And what a clever, smart comedian will do is to actually relieve us of that burden. Do you know what I mean? And give us that 1 hour, 2 hours, 5 minutes of literally forgetting our problems and the problems in our country. What you will get, a sort of still artist do is they might bring that in and reflect it with their brushstroke. Art is a language. Film, the same thing. So yes, it does influence, it does change conversations, and it does charge conversations. Now, it's funny, Romeo should mention LGBT. Recently, and I think it was, 6 weeks, a month, 2 months ago, I don't remember. Look, I will call him out. Brother Shaggy did a skit on Instagram.
Okay.
Right? The skit was, he was gay. All right? Something about him turning up, the character was gay. And then I think maybe the father or somebody wanted to teach him a lesson in order to punish him, and he suddenly raped. Think about, where is the joke in that I don't understand? Where is the laughter in that? Somebody who I respected so much. But suddenly I thought, no, actually, you're just one of them. You literally really have no talent. Because if you had any talent, you wouldn't be doing that. Now, unlike Romeo who's had conversations and things learned better, I wonder if anybody's had a chat with Brother Shaggy. When I do see him again, I intend to talk to him about it. So yes, art matters. Creativity matters. And we must use our creativity for good. Look, people use it to change regimes in their country. People use it to upgrade, to uplift, you know? So why do we think it doesn't matter? It absolutely matters. It's one of the most critical and important forms of communication. That's what art is. And I mean art across the board, including comedians, including actors, including presenters, including Nollywood.
Romeo, do you agree with Richie?
Yeah, I do, sure.
Okay. I wonder, Pamela, if you disagree with the points that Uriti has raised. Are we overstating the power and influence of entertainment? Do you think the entertainers are influencing what the audience thinks? Or do you think what the audience thinks is influencing the art of the entertainers?
No, I think it should be the other way around, because I think that entertainers are in a position of leadership. They're in a position of influence. So they're already held to that responsibility, just like Ureti was saying. And as a leader, you do have a responsibility to create a better society for yourself and for your children and for the next generation. And so you cannot abandon that responsibility and say, oh, I will make this joke because people are laughing about it. I see that as an abdication of
your responsibility.
of their responsibility.
Okay.
Absolutely. What is expected is, if you are in a position of leadership and you have the power to influence the way people think, to influence culture, you should not pry on the pain of others. It's like kicking a dog while it's already down.
Yeah, but where do we draw the line between an artist's social responsibility and artistic license? I mean, are artists not allowed to create whatever they want?
So here's the thing, and this is what I really wanted to say last week, and I didn't get a chance to say it, but I want to say it now. So yes, there's freedom of expression. There's freedom to create. There's freedom to say what you want to say. But the thing is, where your right ends, your right ends where somebody else's rights begin. Now, as human beings, as Nigerians, even in our constitution and in the many international international treaties that we've signed on to, there's a section that says that we have a right to be protected against something about degrading treatment.
Okay.
When you crack a joke that is harmful to a person, because what it does is it takes them back. It's like re-traumatizing people, taking them back to a negative experience. And we also know that medical research has said that people who have suffered sexual violence, especially rape, have a higher rate of suicide than people who haven't.
Okay.
So when you are re-traumatizing a person, you are increasing the likelihood that they may commit suicide.
I see.
That's harmful. Do you understand?
I understand.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking about it, and I'm wondering.
And as a person who is in a leadership position, you have a duty to not do that.
To not make people want to commit suicide.
Yes.
Irechi, are we overstepping here? Are artists not allowed to create whatever art they want? Where do we draw the line between an artist's social responsibility and artistic license?
Good question. I think, of course, artists can create what they want. But you know what? It's about self-pride. Would I want to create something that I would be proud of? That's the question you've got to ask yourself. Personally, as somebody who's done a documentary, as a co-producer of a show right now, I am proud of the things that I'm working as a broadcaster. I am proud of everything I do. Okay?
Okay.
So I've got to ask myself, like you said, the girl that took part in that skit, and there's been others, okay? They have to ask themselves, is this something that I'll be proud to point to my children that, oh, I did this? I, for one, whatever it is I do, I send it to my son. Okay? I want him to know what mommy is doing, right? If I was to do something that would disgrace him, I don't think I would ever want him to see it, and I don't think I would live the life of they. So of course they're allowed to create.
Yeah, but who are we to dictate? Who are we to dictate what each artist finds pride in?
Right. So when you offend, when it is known that something is offensive, okay? So in the old days, we weren't as smart as we are now, right?
Okay.
Let's take it back.
Okay.
Everything we're discussing today, we look to the West. The West have been discussing it for a long time, and they're still battling with it, right? They are still struggling with it. They, too, were muffled for a long time. And that's the same West that we thought they had, quote-unquote, freedom of choice. Okay? But guess what? Everybody is now smarter. We know more. We've learned more. I'll give you an example. There's a message that I think needs to go out to every young boy. That's reaching puberty, but you have to start the message very young. And girl, well, I want to address the boys because everybody always addresses the girls, right? So this day and age, every child, every boy child must be taught consent. Men don't like it very much because they're still finding it hard to understand. What do you mean by consent? If she's kissing me, isn't she already consenting? But guess what consent is? Consent starts, like Pamela said, the minute I say stop, I'm no longer giving you consent. So my child, who is 16, I've had to have a conversation with him, and incidentally, his aunt repeated the same thing, not even knowing that I had had that conversation. That now that you're reaching an age, girls are getting more and more interesting to you. If you ever get into a position, and Romeo, I don't know how old you are, but here's a message for you to please pass on to your peers. If you get to a point with a girl, it doesn't matter, and I know it can be hard. You get to that point of passion, and she says no. It's really difficult. Of course it is. But you've got to stop. Because guess what? Nobody wants a Me Too moment in their life.
True.
Romeo, Romeo, what role do you think movies and songs play in encouraging conversations about issues?
I think music actually talks to the soul. Music cuts across deeper than movies, I think, because most people think about their life. Some people think about situations and all that. So if whatever it is you're thinking about or you're shooting about, you should look at what you're promoting from both angles. Because you might be promoting something that might be getting the next person pissed or traumatized.
Yeah, but should artists, I mean, you're an artist, you're a content creator, you're a comedian.
Yeah.
Should you be living your life based on how people will receive your art, or should you just create your art because you want to create your art? Are we not infringing upon your right to express yourself if we're going to continue to get annoyed by whatever you put out?
No, I think it depends on the society the entertainer finds himself. This is our society. This is what we do not like. We don't like people riding on people's pain. Okay, well, comedians, for example, are supposed to be making people happy, not jumping on their pain. So I think it's the society we find ourselves in. So we're supposed to be learned enough to understand the things that will hurt people, and that was which one.
Okay.
But Sandra, you know what I would like to add?
Yeah.
Talking of Nollywood, if you think about it, in the old days, the old Nollywood that used to do all of those films was controlled by men. Now, because we have more female directors and producers, the language and the narrative is changing. So women are being portrayed differently. And that's why it's important that more women are in the creative space, not just in the creative space, they're able to direct what happens from the top.
Yeah.
You know, things are changing. And look, we're in the what? We're going into the in a month's time, we'll be in the third decade of the 21st century. Isn't that just amazing? Think about it. Now, the 21st century, where probably in the next 20 years, 30 years, cars are not going to look like the way they do anymore. Everybody's moving forward, but yet we have comedians who think it's okay to make rape jokes. We have film producers who think they can portray women anyhow. Even let's talk about those who even corporate leaders. This is not just a problem in entertainment. This is a problem across the board. This is a problem about how we relate to each other. This is a new way of how this gender relation has to change. Because previously, the male was seen as the one that's allowed a voice. The female was told to be the one to be quiet. Well, guess what? Things have changed. The Netherlands is what? They've now got a female president, or Finland, I beg your pardon, female president and 4 members of the female cabinet. I mean, come on. So we can no longer say, oh, it's because I have a right to change anything. Well, guess what? You have a right and you also have a brain. You're not deaf.
This is the Glass Ceiling on Hard Facts.
The glass ceiling back here. Sorry about that rude interruption by the ads, but they do have to go. We do have to pay bills. I'm Sandra Ezekwesili, and we're talking about rape culture in entertainment and stand-up comedy. We have on the show a human rights advocate, Pamela Adie. We also had Ireti Bakare Yusuf on the phone alongside Romeo Without Juliet, who's a Nigerian comedian and content creator who incidentally created a viral video that earned him a lot of backlash online, and it was quite the thing. So we've been talking about the influence that entertainment has in shaping society. We've been talking about the influence that entertainment has over things like rape, because again, I keep saying to you that rape thrives in a society that enables it. That's when you say that something is a culture. Culture is the way of life of a people, right? And how culture comes to stay is if a people all agree, whether tacitly or overtly, that this thing is a good thing that will stay or it's a bad thing that will go away. So you hear culture and you say, come on now, God forbid, Sandra, how can you say rape culture? Nigeria doesn't have rape culture. But are we doing things that make it okay for rapists to keep on raping? Are we doing things that make it okay for rapists to rape with their chest? Are we allowing them to get away with jokes that they tell about rape? By them, I mean comedians now. Now, they're not rapists, but they're telling jokes that make rape a light matter, a matter to laugh at. When they're doing that, and as a society, we're laughing with them, are we creating an enabling environment for the rapists who are in the audience to say, see, what did I do? No, they too bad now. See, they use and they make jokes, they laugh, Seth. When we make movies where a man rapes a woman and the man marries the woman and therefore everything is forgiven, are we making it okay for somebody else to go and rape somebody tomorrow and say, after all, I go marry you and everything go day forgiven? When we ask questions like, what were you wearing? Where did you go? Why did you go there? Why did you stay alone with him? Why did you go alone with him? When we make statements like that, are we creating an environment for the person that raped somebody to say, see, it's not me that did it. I couldn't control myself because you put yourself in a position to be raped. That's how you create an enabling environment. That's how you build a culture. And what is culture? An enabling environment for anything. That's it. And in Nigeria, we seem to have created an enabling environment for rape. And that's why somebody like Romeo can say that for comedians, sometimes they make rape jokes subconsciously. Do you know how bad a problem has to be for it to come out of your subconscious mind, Pamela?
It's really, really amazing, to be honest. Because, I mean, for something to be in your subconscious in a way that you don't even have to think about it, it just comes up. I mean, it should tell you that really you've probably been hearing it and laughing, and you've heard it from your friends and you will have laughed, and you know it's so common that it's just, you know, it's like it's no longer something that you have to think about. Okay, so I really,
I didn't know what to say when I heard that.
Yeah, I mean, that really, you know, when Nigerians say, man, that thing bust my brain. Right?
Hello to you. Thanks for calling us.
Yes. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. You've got 1 minute, 30 seconds.
Okay, please. I think I beg to differ from the position that states that we have an enabling environment for it.
Okay.
Based on perhaps the comedian's joke and perhaps some of the movies that we see. Let me start with the movies. For the movies, I think, you know, for some movies, you see where evil thrives. Evil thrives over the good. And that is why before every movie, there is this warning that says this movie is for whoever is 18 years and above. So it is expected that you are an adult seeing that movie. It is expected that you understand that these are characters coming up with different attitudes and all of that. So even if evil thrives in that movie, it doesn't mean they are trying to teach or inculcate into the culture of where that movie is being shown. That is one. Secondly, for the comedians, yes, this is also the reason you don't go, they should restrict comedy to only adulthood. Comedy should be restricted to only adulthood. It's not just rape. There are so many things that goes on that they talk in comedy that they use to make comedy.
All right, Kenneth, your time is up. Remember, 1 minute, 30 seconds. Thanks for sharing your thoughts. I'm curious what Pamela has to say, but I'll talk to Abednego last, and then I'll come to Pamela. Abednego, hello.
Hi, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Go ahead.
Yes. Now, here's the thing. I must be honest with you that the tiniest word there plays a very big role in our people of today. So I'll give you an instance now. Person stay for his song now, because I rap.
Okay.
So person stay for his song, so say money for hand, back for ground. Young guy here that say, oh boy, not true. I'm if money range from my pocket, that get he go even use vulgar words that they're not born that way make you talk no. Now, you go to meet the lady too. She now tells you the same thing. She uses that line from that song to sing for you, like money for hand, back for ground. You don't know you they try you, not joke you do. You know, so it goes a long way. Now, for you to say that you can have such jokes subconscious, I beg to differ. The comedy industry is growing to a very large extent where you have to at least look at your jokes before you come to crack these things. People that are paying the regular VIP or for your tables did not come to play. They came to enjoy quality jokes. And I beg to differ with the last caller quickly. You cannot tell me that, oh, it should be restricted to adults. What happened to YouTube? So you find a 10, 11-year-old child using these things. A comedian or an artist must make money off their song. If you ban it off the radio, thanks to YouTube. I remember that I started watching and listening to stuff as early as when I was 8, 9. So fast forward to now, who wants to stop it? You hear people say, tell your PT, may you go sleep once 8 past. So this program where we dey sponsor, so now alcohol brand they do one for our radio. Take that not listen. It's a joke. That's how they listen to radio reach 1 a.m. So we have a lot to play. I will say I feel talking about my
Abednego, thank you so much for calling. There are certain jokes that should be off limit. Example, rape and domestic violence. That being said, comedians should not be afraid to create jokes. People are becoming too sensitive these days. All jokes are offensive to one person. There are people that nothing sounds funny to. So where should we draw the line? This is a message from Francis. Pamela, last words.
Absolutely wrong. Now, this notion that everything is now sensitive topic and you cannot. I initially made a statement. I said, the issue we're having and the problem, the reason why this is a problem is because these jokes are centered on the pain of other people. That is hurtful and it is wrong. If we had jokes that talked about, as I said, the mindset of a rapist, that challenges the stereotypes that people, the sort of comebacks and stereotypes that people bring up.
So, for instance, make a joke about, why you go talk in a short skirt, make you rape her, that kind of thing.
Exactly. If we had jokes that highlighted those issues without having to reenact the rape itself, it would be okay. There is so much. You look around Nigeria, there's so much that you can joke about.
So make jokes about jokes that shame and make the rapist uncomfortable.
Exactly.
And not shames or makes a survivor uncomfortable.
Exactly. And the reason that is because rape is something to be shameful about.
That's right. Pamela, dear, thank you so much for your time. I wish we still had Romeo and Ireti Bakare on the line, so that I'll thank them as well for their time. This has been great. We spent last week and this week, not past few weeks, last week and this week talking about this. And if you missed last week, you can actually catch it online. Go to any of your favorite podcast services and search for The Glass Ceiling Show. And you can listen to this episode, last week's episode, and all the other episodes of The Glass Ceiling Show. On the other side of 5 o'clock, we're going to talk about correctional services. We're going to talk about the state of Nigeria's prisons. A special report organized put together by our newsroom coming right up. Thank you so much for staying here on Hard Facts.